It's been a long day. It's been a great day. Before we get started, I want to tell Arkansas Times, thank you so much for putting this on. Y'all did an amazing job. I think everybody has gotten a lot of information, much needed information. And to finish off the day, I'm going to do something a little bit different from what everybody else is. I see a lot of familiar faces in here, but I also see a lot of new faces. And a lot of people don't understand what it took to get medical marijuana in the state of Arkansas. How long we had to fight, what all we had to go through, the trials and tribulations. So for those of you who've been with us since 2011, this will be kind of a stroll down memory lane. For the rest of you, it'll kind of be a history lesson. So let's get started. Arkansas got their start in trying to get any kind of legalization back in 1999. A woman by the name of Danielle Campbell created an organization called Drug Policy Education Group. They tried a couple of times to get a medical marijuana initiative on the ballot and failed, so they kind of shifted gears and decided to do it city by city. Fayetteville and Eureka Springs were the two cities that they worked on first. They were actually able to pass a rule. I have trouble with that word. To make it a low priority crime. I've got just a few, but can you get it to feed through where it'll just kind of play behind me? I don't know how to do that. What I've got up here is a lot of pictures that we've gathered over the last 10 years of all of our campaigns and a lot of our volunteers. And one thing I want to say is our Kansas for Compassionate Care had, by absolute no contest, the most amazing volunteers that have ever been. We had patients that were in wheelchairs. We had patients that were on oxygen. We had cancer patients that had to bring a chair with them because they were so weak from their chemo. They couldn't stand up to gather signatures. But they were out there every single day. If there was an event in the state that had more than 10 people, we were there. When they had the day after Thanksgiving, the Black Friday, we were at every store, standing while everybody was standing in line trying to get in, gather signatures. They were everywhere, and they were amazing. They never gave up because they knew that we needed this. In 2011, a young man by the name of Ryan Denham and two other college students decided to take it a little further than city by city, and they came up with a ballot initiative that became the 2012 initiative, trying to get it on the ballot and then trying to get it passed. My husband and I, Gary, got involved in April of 2011, and so a lot of the stories I'm going to tell were from personal experience. But everybody told us we were crazy. There's no way Arkansas would ever pass a medical marijuana bill. On election night, we did fail, but it only missed by 1.75% of getting passed. We immediately knew that we had to get it going again to keep the momentum. So we went back to the drawing board, we wrote a new initiative, and we started doing one for 2014. 2014 was not a presidential election, so there was no money, very little volunteerism. People were tired. So by May of 2014, we called it. We knew we weren't going to be able to get enough signatures to get on the ballot. Went back to the drawing board, wrote another initiative, and on September the 6th of 2014, we started our 2016 initiative for the Arkansas Medical Cannabis Act. We did make the ballot. There was also another initiative, which is now our law. that also made the ballot and started gathering signatures. And a lot of people ask what happened to issue 7. I won't dwell on it a lot because it's still a really sore subject, but we turned in 110,000 signatures. We needed 69,000 in order to keep the ballot. When the Secretary of State validates signatures, they only validate 10% over what is needed to be on the ballot. When David Couch filed a lawsuit against us, we went to the Supreme Court. Our case was heard by a special master. We had 10,000 more signatures than we needed, and there were still plenty they had not even counted. He said that because we should have grandfathered in the old rules, we should not lose any signatures. But if we did at all, it would only be about 2,500 signatures. We walked out of the courthouse thinking we were golden. We were on the ballot, everything was great. Approximately 2 weeks later, the Supreme Court came out with their ruling. Miraculously, they found enough signatures they decided to throw off that threw us off the ballot by, I think, they made sure they had about 20 or 30 signatures more than they needed to make sure that we were off the ballot. And the weird thing is usually the Supreme Court puts out a ruling and then they wait about 10 days to do a mandate. And in that time period, you have time to try to fight it. Well, the Supreme Court put out their ruling and the mandate on the same day. We could not do anything. We were off the ballot. We had over 200 people show up in front of the Supreme Court protesting, asking them to reconsider. It fell on deaf ears. Issue 7 was all about patience. It was all about patience. It wasn't about money. It wasn't about anything except for making sure patients had affordable medicine. They could grow their own medicine if they were too far from a dispensary, and there was room for the program to grow. Unfortunately, with issue 6, which is now Amendment 98, which is what we have, you cannot have more than 40 dispensaries in the state. That's it. There were 2 things that he put in the initiative that could not be overturned or reversed. You could not reverse it and repeal the program, and you could not add more dispensaries or cultivation centers. So right now, we have nearly 80,000 patients that have to deal with 40 dispensaries, which we don't even have 40 dispensaries at this point. When it finally passed in 2016, the legislature in 2017 had one goal: to do as much as they could to destroy the program as possible. There was one gentleman, he was a Representative Doug House, that was tasked to write the rules and regulations. Gary and I got to go and meet him. He was a retired JAG attorney. We walked in, the straight military crew cut, the solemn look, and we both looked at each other and like, oh my God, we're in so much trouble. But we weren't. Doug was completely against medical marijuana. He had used his own money to help advertise to get people to not vote for medical marijuana. He was a very religious man, and he went to his minister and he said, what am I going to do? They're expecting me to make the rules and regulations for something that I think is wrong. And surprisingly, his minister said, I want you to talk to a few people in the church. I want to bring them in, I want you to talk to them. He didn't understand what that was going to have to do with it, but it's okay. Several families came in and explained to him, we have cancer, we're on opioids. There were so many things that they had wrong with them, and they desperately needed medical cannabis. After talking to his minister and to several doctors and to these possible patients in his church, he had a complete about-face. He became our champion. The first year of legislation in 2017, they had 52 bills that had to do with medical marijuana. 52, that's a lot of bills for one subject. 32 of those bills were solely geared to destroy the medical marijuana program. At that time, we had 25,000 members for DPEG. Every time a vote would come up, we would put out the news and everybody would call the Capitol, write emails, do everything that they could to get the legislature's attention. We shut their switchboard down more than one occasion, which was awesome. And it actually made the legislators stand up and pay attention to us. We were their constituents, and they knew then we had a voice and they better listen to it. We killed 32 of those bills. 2 of them were bad bills, we didn't like them, but when military and police officers come in and they're dressed blues and they talk about this, and this of how it needs to be done, we still spoke against them, but we knew we were outnumbered. But the other 18 bills that we supported, all were passed. One of the first bills that were passed is, if you'll remember, the initiative was written to have doctors recommend cannabis. Well, doctors were terrified of losing their license. So one of the first bills that Representative House presented and got passed with DPEG's help was they changed it from a recommendation to a certification. That protected doctors. Doctors weren't so concerned because they weren't recommending cannabis. They were just certifying that you had a condition that qualified you to use medical cannabis. A few of the things that I want to talk about for the future. We've got to elect legislators that support cannabis reform. If we don't, this is never going to change. It's just going to get worse every year. Every single year we've had to be at the legislature because they have tried their best to make laws that will kill the medical marijuana program. So what a lot of people say, what can we do to help with this? What can we do to make these changes? Well, Arkansas NORML has set up some questionnaires. The filing for new candidates will be at the end of this year. As soon as the filing is over, we will send out questionnaires to each and every one of these candidates, and we will continue to send out these questionnaires until they answer them. Once we get their answers and we compile all the information, we will send out to all of our members and put it on our website, put it on our Facebook page, of all of these candidates that answered our questionnaire and how they answered it. You know, the days of walking into a voting booth and writing a little check mark just because they have an R or a D by their name has to stop. It has got to stop, because until we do that, until we start giving educated votes, nothing is ever going to change. We have to get people in the legislature that supports medical marijuana, that supports marijuana reform. One of the things that they passed this last legislative session was telemedicine for cannabis patients. Where is it? The health department is holding it up. The Medical Marijuana Commission have put their rules and regulations in it. The legislature has put their approval on it, but the health department has dragged their heels. They said, well, we can't allow the telemedicine until we make our rules and regulations, but we're not going to make those until we meet January or February. We need this telemedicine. We have too many patients that are shut-ins. With the COVID going on the way it is, when you have a patient with an autoimmune disease, they don't want to be out going back and forth everywhere, even to doctor's offices, if they don't have to? How many of y'all, if you have an autoimmune disease, have been able to have telemedicine with your doctor for other reasons other than your cannabis card? Anybody can, just about. I've used them I don't know how many times. But we've got to put our foot on their necks, so to say, and make them start doing their job. We voted our medical cannabis in by, I think, 54%. It should have sent a message to every one of those legislators that the people that pay their paycheck and elect them into office have said, we want medical cannabis. We want marijuana reform in this state. Do your job. How do we do that? When bills are coming up, we put out information, we put out alerts. Call your legislator, call your senator, call your House of Representatives. We give a website where you can go on. If you don't know who your representative is or your senator is, you can go on there, you can put your address in, and it tells you who it is. It gives their email address, it gives their phone number. We give the phone number to the Capitol for the House and the Senate. It takes maybe 2 minutes. 2 minutes of your time. How much time is that when the benefits can be huge? To write an email to your representative or your senator, to make that phone call to your representative or your senator, or to call the Capitol and leave a message for those legislators. It takes no time at all. And you think it doesn't matter, but it does. It matters because if they're getting 2,000 and 3,000 calls and emails a day telling them you want them to vote this way or that way on a bill, they have to listen or they don't get reelected. So that is the biggest thing that we can do, is work with our legislature. Arkansas NORML was up there this last session. We were able to help kill a bill. One of the bills that passed in 2017 was the safety-sensitive jobs. If you have a safety-sensitive job, a police officer, a doctor, a nurse, a truck driver, anything where being impaired by anything would make it a safety-sensitive job. They passed that. We were not happy with it. I do understand some of them, because I wouldn't want a surgeon working on me that was, on opioids, drunk, high, anything. So I understand those. But they decided to take a step further in this last legislative session. Had this bill passed, basically, if you worked, you could not be a patient. If you worked in an office and you had access to your client's name and address and phone number, that's security sensitivity. So you could not have a medical cannabis card. They could not kill the program, repeal the program, so let's kill it this way. We had enough people contact their legislators that the man finally pulled his bill before it ever got to the floor. One thing we've tried to do every single session is to get a bill presented before the committees to add extra qualifying conditions. We desperately need more qualifying conditions. There's not enough of them. Depression, anxiety, all of those things, ADD, ADHD, all of those things, there's so many different things that are not on there that can be helped with cannabis. Every single time we have found a legislator to sponsor that bill, it never gets past committee. The last one that we did, I don't know if y'all know how the committees work, but you go in and you present your bill, you have discussions about the bill, and then the chair asks if is there a motion to put it out there. you could have heard crickets. They wouldn't even make a motion for people to vote on to get it out of committee and on the floor. That's sad. You know, they don't understand cannabis. They don't want to understand cannabis. They don't want to understand patients. They just look at it that, oh, it's a bunch of hippies that are just wanting to get legally high. Well, talk to a few cancer patients. Talk to a few patients that literally cannot get out of the bed because of their pain, but they can with cannabis. Talk to the patients who have been on opioids for years and that the doctors are literally killing. That's how Gary and I got involved. They were killing my son with opioids. And they're okay with shoveling opioids down a patient's throat. But oh my God, don't let anybody use cannabis, because you know, that's really bad stuff. So you need to start, number one, join NORML. It's a $10 joining fee. You get a free mask. Let me get my little mask out. You get a free mask with it. You get a bumper sticker. It's a great deal. The mask costs us $12 to have produced, so, you know, we're going in the hole with it, but that's okay. But you need to join NORML so that you can get all of our information. We lobby the legislators. We work to try to get good bills sponsored by those legislators. We work really hard to kill bad bills, but we can't do it without you. With me and Gary and Kelly and one or two others going up there trying to do this, it falls on deaf ears. But if we have 25,000, 50,000, if we had every patient, which is almost 80,000 now, call their legislators, it would be really hard for them to ignore us. And that's what we have to have. We need you to talk to your friends. We need to talk to you to talk to every patient that you know and get them involved. Now, I will tell you, there is going to be a adult use initiative that will be submitted the middle of October, the middle to the end of October. They have the funding to get the signatures and to get on the ballot. It has been supported by the AG's office. It is supported by law enforcement. It will open the doors for not just adult use, but it will help patients too, because this 12% excise tax that we pay every time we walk into a dispensary will be a thing of the past. It will be taken away from patients. We fought so hard trying to get them to not continue this excise tax, and it fell on deaf ears. We went in and spoke, and they had already made up their minds. It was unanimous. And it's not even for paying for the program. It's for the National Cancer Institute for Arkansas. It's a big feather in Arkansas's cap, has nothing to do with medical marijuana. You know, let the chemo patients pay for it. You know, not us. Number one, our insurance doesn't pay for our medicine. We already pay an exorbitant amount for medication. We pay a high tax already, and now they want to add that and now they're adding that extra 12% onto it. The medicine is not that expensive on the shelves, but once they add the taxes, it kills patients. And most of our patients, or not most of them maybe, but a lot of our patients are on fixed incomes. They're disabled. They can't afford to get their medicine. Many times they go without their medication because they can't pay for it. But that's what the state has done. They're using us, they don't want us to have medical cannabis, but they're using us as a cash cow. The only way this is going to change, unfortunately, is to get the adult use passed. That will give us 120 more dispensaries to begin with an open end that if we need more, they can add them. It will double the cultivators. It will lower the prices, and everybody says, well, that'll hurt the patients. No, it won't. If you have twice as many cultivators and more people buying the product, the prices are going to come down. It's supply and demand. Right now, we can't expand. They've tied our hands. David Couch tied our hands. This is the best it can get. With adult use, it will add more dispensaries, which the patients will be able to go in and use those dispensaries as well as the 40 that we already have. They will eliminate the taxes for patients. Only adult use will pay taxes. And it's open-ended enough that it's not just good for today. It'll be good for tomorrow, 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, and 20 years down the road. So keep an eye out for when this initiative comes out. There's also another one that a group, True Grass, has out. They've been gathering signatures for quite a while. If you want to see Arkansas expand their marijuana program and to see patients get a better deal, find an initiative and sign it. When it gets to the ballot, make sure every single person you know that is a registered voter goes to the poll and votes yes on adult use cannabis. That's the only way we're ever going to change anything. It's the only way we're going to have cheaper medicine, more strains, more access. I know patients that still drive an hour and a half to 2 hours to the closest dispensary. That's wrong on so many levels. But these pictures are our hearts and our souls. Our volunteers had a blast doing it. We've laughed together, we've cried together, we've said goodbye to our warriors that we've lost. But when it all came down to it, it wasn't exactly what we wanted, but we won. We have medical cannabis. Patients can legally walk into a dispensary, buy their medicine, walk out and use their medicine and not worry about being stopped and going to jail. I know this wasn't as nearly as exciting as a lot of the questions and answers, but I wanted everybody to know where we started and where we're going and how y'all can help. Please spread the word. Watch for the next legislative session when we have bills. Make those calls. I know everybody's busy, but it doesn't take 2 minutes to make those calls, to write those emails. Please help us make Arkansas a better state for the cannabis reform. That's all I got to say. Has anybody got any questions? Nobody? Okay. What's the web? Oh, thank you. ArkansasNORML.com. That's NORML.com. We also have a Facebook page. We also have an Arkansas Cannabis Activist page. And we put all of our information on both of those. It's very easy to get to. And you can see all of the new information that we have. I know True Grass gets on there and puts where they have signatures, where you can sign the petition. The new initiative coming out will also put on there where you can sign the petition, how you can get involved, and get involved. It's fun. It really is fun. Yes, sir.
Where is the money coming from for the new initiative? Who are the major funds?
Most of it, from what I understand, are the industry. The industry knows that what we have cannot sustain the state. We have to move forward or the whole program is going to crumble. So it is my understanding, I haven't seen their money. I know they have plenty of money to get it passed, but my understanding is it is coming from the industry because they understand that we have to have more dispensaries, we have to have more cultivation, we have to have more product, and we have to have more people using it. Anybody else? Okay, thank y'all so much. I think we had a great day.